Bradley Beal, John Collins, and Brook Lopez on a team that already has Kawhi Leonard and James Harden? Yeah, this new Clippers squad looks insane. And to make it even better, Chris Paul is back for one last run. We've seen this before. The Clippers stack talent and look amazing on paper, only to fall short when it matters. But this time things feel very different. They didn't just chase the biggest names. They made smart, calculated moves. They added guys who can actually fit in, not ones that just make the headlines. It feels like they're finally building a team and not just a collection of stars. Let's start with Bradley Beal. Just a year ago, everyone thought that Beal was about to finally get his big break. He was traded to the Suns to join Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, forming what looked like one of the best offensive trios in the league. But it didn't work out. Beal was hurt for long stretches, and even when he played, he didn't quite look like himself. He never really found his rhythm next to two other high-volume scorers, and it almost felt like he disappeared at times. Now he's in LA ready for a reset. Beal signed a one-year deal with a player option, which basically means he's betting on himself. He knows this might be his last real shot to prove that he can still be that guy, or at least an important piece on a winning team. The Clippers are not asking him to carry an offense anymore, so realistically he doesn't need to be that guy. No one is asking Beal to play like the version of him that we saw at Washington. The Clippers just need him to come in, bring energy off the bench, and make an impact. They need him to score when the team needs a bucket, move the ball, compete on defense. He doesn't have to be a superstar, he just has to be solid. Even in what people called a down year, Beal quietly put up 17 points per game while shooting nearly 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and almost 90% from the line. That's still pretty elite efficiency. He's still a natural scorer. He's got a smooth jumper, great footwork, and he's still good at getting to his spots. The big difference now though will be his mindset. This time it's about buying into a role. If Beal embraces that 6-man position and locks in on both ends, he can completely change how the Clippers second unit looks. Imagine a bench lineup led by Beal and Bogdanovic. That's some serious scoring firepower. The Clippers are giving him a chance to rebuild his image, and if he takes advantage, he could be the missing piece that pushes this team over the edge come playoff time. Then you have John Collins, the high flyer with something to prove. There was a time when John Collins looked like one of the best young forwards in basketball. Back in Atlanta, he was electric, dunking on everyone, spacing the floor, and him with Trae Young was one of the league's most exciting duo. In fact, in 2021, he was a key part of the Hawks' run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Then though, things started to unravel. His touches went down, his confidence dipped, and his game got caught in a bit of a limbo. Atlanta moved on and Collins suddenly went from a future star to what happened to that guy? But last season in Utah, he reminded people that he can still hoop. He averaged 15 points and 8 rebounds, shot 37% from 3, and looked more comfortable in his role. He didn't make headlines, but he was playing solid basketball again, the kind that any manager and organization respects. Now he's getting another shot with the Clippers, and the fit just makes sense. Collins is only 26. I know it feels like he's been around forever, but he's only now hitting his prime. He's athletic, mobile, and can stretch the floor. With James Harden running the offense, he's going to get a lot of easy looks, pick and rolls, lobs, and spot up threes. All of that becomes more available to him as he's playing with better players than when he was on Utah. The Clippers have needed someone like Collins for years, a big who can finish strong but can also shoot. Defensively, he still has a lot of room to grow, but LA is betting that with veteran teammates and a better structure, he can turn that corner. If he brings his energy, runs the floor, and plays his role, he could quietly be one of the best signings of the offseason. And honestly, there's something about players with something to prove. They always play with a chip on their shoulder, so they perform better. Collins was once counted out. Now he gets to show the league that he's still that high flyer who can help a contender win big. Then we get to Brook Lopez. Now this man might be 36, but his game has aged like fine wine. He's not the bruising post-up center from his early days in Brooklyn because he's completely reinvented himself into one of the most valuable shooting big men in the modern NBA. Last season in Milwaukee, Lopez averaged almost 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game, and he did it while shooting 36% from 3. Those are pretty insane numbers for a 7-footer, and one that is pushing 40. He's basically a mix of old school defense and new school spacing. What makes Lopez special though isn't even what he puts up on the stats sheet, it's about his reliability. He rarely makes mistakes. He's always communicating on defense, he sets hard screens, he takes open shots with confidence. When he's on the court, you always know what you're getting with him. For the Clippers, he's the exact kind of veteran presence they need. He can protect the rim, he can space the floor, and he can calm things down when the game gets chaotic. Ty Lue can plug him into all kinds of lineups. He can play next to Zubac for a huge front court, or they can have him anchor the second unit unit when Kawhi and Harden rest. On top of all this, Lopez brings championship experience. This guy has won a ring, he's seen it all, he's played in huge playoff games, and because of that, he knows how to stay focused through a long season. For a team trying to go deep into the playoffs, having someone like him in the locker room is priceless. Then we get to Bogdan Bogdanović. Now this man athletically is not going to jump out of the gym or break the internet with some wild dunks, but he's one of those players who just makes your team better. Every contender needs a guy like this, someone who plays smart, unselfish, someone who's reliable and steady in the clutch. Last year in Atlanta, he averaged 16 points per game and hit 38% of his threes. He can handle the ball, he can run pick and rolls, and he can knock down tough shots when things break down. You can play him with the starters or bring him off the bench. It doesn't really matter because he fits everywhere. For the Clippers, he's the kind of glue guy that keeps everything running smoothly. If Beal is off, Bogdanovic can slide in. If Kawhi or Harden needs a rest, he can take over the scoring load. He's a connector type player, one who ties all the pieces together. And having both him and Beal coming off the bench, well, that's pretty scary. LA finally has a second unit that can actually score and keep the pressure on the opponent instead of just trying to survive. Then we have Derrick Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn, the defensive dogs. These guys might not be stars, but they are definitely fan favorites. Derrick Jones Jr. is all about energy. He's the guy who comes in, locks up the opposition best scorer, flies out of nowhere for dunks, and brings intensity with every possession. We saw it in Dallas. He started in the playoffs and made a real impact guarding other elite players. Then his partner in crime, Chris Dunn, has a very inspiring story. He was once labeled a bust, bounced around teams, and looked like he might be out of the league, but instead of giving up, he worked on his game. Now he's one of the most respected defenders in the NBA. Tough, smart, and just a nightmare to play against. He plays with a chip on his shoulder, and that's the exact kind of attitude that the Clippers have been missing. Together, Dunn and Jones give this team an edge. They will do the dirty work, so the stars don't have to. They'll take the toughest assignments, they'll chase guys around screens, they'll dive for loose balls, and set the tone. If the Clippers are going to be making noise in the playoffs, it will start with these two players who can bring grit, defense, and hustle every single night. This isn't one of those flashy super teams that we've seen from the Clippers before. It's a deep, balanced roster filled with players who can actually fit together. Every guy on this roster has a role. Some are scorers, some defend, some are just there to make the smart plays. And the best part is that Ty Lue finally has options. The Clippers can go big or small. They can play fast or slow. They can win ugly or win with style. It's not about big names anymore. It's about chemistry, it's about fit, and about adapting on the fly. And to be honest with you, I think this Clippers team might be their best shot at finally breaking through and making a deep playoff run, because they're building their team around one simple idea: flexibility. In the past, their success always depended on whether their stars were healthy. If Kawhi or Paul George went down, everything fell apart. Now though, they've got a lineup that can change on the fly. Different matchups, different looks, different styles. They can do it all without losing any balance. Because at the point guard position, you have James Harden. Now, he might not be the MVP version that we saw in Houston, but he's still one of the smartest players in the league. He's evolved into a true floor general, someone who can control the tempo, find open teammates. He still reads the game better than almost anyone else. Last season, he averaged 16 points and 8 assists, leading one of the most efficient offenses in the NBA. The Clippers don't need him to go for 40. They just need him to run the show, keep everyone involved, and make the offense flow. The good thing is Harden knows how to manage stars. He's played with KD, Kyrie, and Embiid. He understands how to make talents work together. Now with the likes of Kawhi, Bradley Beal, John Collins, he can be the team's brain, not just a scorer. Then in the shooting guard position, things get very interesting. Depending on what Ty Lue wants to achieve that night, he has a lot of options. If the Clippers want to set the tone defensively, Chris Dunn has to get the start. He's physical, he's relentless, and he guards like his life depends on it. He's not the best shooter, but he makes up for it with energy and focus. He's the kind of guy who annoys opposing guards all night. Think of a younger, better Patrick Beverley. But if they want instant offense, then Bradley Beal gets the nod. He's a smooth scorer, a better shooter than all the other shooting guards, and he has a lot of experience under pressure. Still though, the Clippers might prefer to have him lead the second unit, where he can get the ball more and attack without worrying about stepping on Harden or Kawhi's toes. So early on, expect Dunn to start, at least until the rotation settle. Then at the small forward position, Derrick Jones Jr. probably gets the start. He's one of the most important pieces on this team. He's not a household name, but his defense is elite. And in Dallas, he proved that he can start in big playoff games. He's long, brings non-stop energy, and if he's playing with James Harden, Well, he's going to grab those offensive boards, he's going to get those easy dunks, and he's going to keep the pace high. He's not going to take a lot of shots, which is great, because every team needs that guy who just defends, hustles, and makes the stars' jobs easier. At the power forward spot, Kawhi Leonard remains the heart of this team. When he's healthy, he's still one of the most complete players in the league. Calm, deadly, and unshakable. If this guy wants to get to his spot, he'll get there. In this roster, I feel like he has to slide to power forward, because he's strong enough to guard bigs, quick enough to stay with wings, and can dominate the floor at the 4. Playing at the 4 also means less wear and tear. He can post up smaller defenders, he can shoot over slower ones, and conserve energy until crunch time. When it's winning time, Kawhi will still be the closer. The Clippers just have to find a way to keep him fresh all year. And then at center, you have Zubac, who might be the most underappreciated player on the roster. He doesn't get the spotlight, but he does everything you need from the starting center. He sets hard screens, he rolls strong to the rim, he finishes inside, and grabs tough rebounds. Now, he might not block shots like Lopez, but he's still very dependable at the rim, and that consistency matters. Defensively, he's very solid in space, he doesn't foul much, and he knows where to be. On this team, he's the steady anchor, the kind of player coaches love because they never have to worry about him. Now, as I told you guys earlier, the Clippers can adapt and play a lot of different lineups. They can go big and put Kawhi at the 3, Collins at the 4, and then Lopez at the 5. They can go small with Kawhi at the 4, Collins at the 5, with shooters around them. They can go more defensive by having Dunn and Jones Jr. start, or they can go more offensive and get Beal and Bogdanovic to take over. It's all about options, and Ty Lue has more tools than ever. The regular season will be the time for experimenting, for testing these lineups, seeing who plays well with who, because maybe Beal becomes the 6th man, or maybe he starts. Maybe Lopez finishes games while Zubac starts. Maybe Collins is at his best playing as the small ball 5. This is a Clippers team with a new identity. Before, they were star heavy but thin. One injury and the season fell apart. This version is built very differently. It's more adaptable. You can slow things down with Lopez, then run things fast with Collins. You can adjust to any opponent. Of course, Kawhi's health is still everything for this. None of the stuff I mentioned earlier really matters if Kawhi isn't healthy. At least if they want to win a championship, he's still the key. That's why they're managing his minutes and giving him support so he doesn't burn out. The plan is very simple. Just keep Kawhi fresh for the playoffs. This team isn't built for January, it's built for May and June. Kawhi hasn't played 60 games in a season since 2017. Harden and Beal have their own injury histories. It's just the reality. The Clippers will miss players at times, and that's why the depth matters more than ever. And of course, age is also another factor. This is still an older squad. Harden's 35, Kawhi's 34, Lopez is 36. Even Beal and Bogdanovic are in their 30s. The experience obviously helps, but they'll need to pace themselves. Teams like OKC and Houston could run them off the floor if they're not careful. The Clippers have the talent to compete with anyone, but the West is brutal. Denver, OKC, Minnesota, and Houston are all legit threats. If everything clicks, the Clippers can hang with anyone. If not though, they could easily fall to the middle of the pack again. The team's success comes down to their health, their defending, and how the players buy in. Get those things right, and they'll be a nightmare in the playoffs. Because in terms of coaching, they already have the master of adjustments. Ty Lue is one of the smartest coaches in the league. He's not afraid to make bold moves like benching stars, changing game plans mid-series, and just switching matchups all around. That flexibility is what makes him perfect for this roster. And then you have the addition of Van Gundy. He brings years of experience, especially on defense. Between him and Lue, the Clippers coaching staff might be one of the sharpest in the league. This season, the Clippers are going all in, but they have a plan. They're not just throwing money at big names, they build depth, balance, and flexibility. Whether it works or not, we don't know yet. But they finally have a team that if it all goes together, it will be their best shot yet at a championship.